Spivey. I want to welcome you to the Connect podcast. I want to thank you for joining me today and also let you know we're traveling again. Last week I was coming to you from a hotel room. Today I'm coming to you from my parents' house. So you and I are just on a road trip. And so I'm taking you with me on that journey. Another journey that I'm taking you with me on is this journey of transition. So we've been talking about this for several weeks. I've had several different guests on. I'm really excited about next week's guest. But we're going to talk today about passing the baton. And transition, when it's done well, can really be beautiful, can really be a blessing to both sides of this transition. It's a blessing to you as you're moving out of one position and into a new position. Transitioning out is not an ending, right? It's also a new beginning for the person transitioning in. And so like in a relay race, we're passing off that baton. And so you've done your work. You've trained. You've become an expert in your field. And as you're running the race and getting ready to hand off that baton to the next runner in the relay, you're trusting that that person has also done their homework, that they're also going to take this baton and continue running the race well. And so mixed up in that is a lot of emotion. It's a lot of trust. It's a lot of joy. It's a lot of pride. There's some grief. There's some fear. All of that is okay. For that span of emotion that we feel during transition, everything is valid. However, we're not led by emotion. We're led by the Spirit of God. And at the end of the day, doing this transition well can be beautiful and can be an example and can be a blessing to both leaders as well as the people that they're leading, all the people within not only my sphere of influence, but the person that I'm passing the baton to, their sphere of influence. And so think about that. As you go through a transition, you want to steward this well so that you are healthy, so the next leader is healthy, so the people around you are also healthy. There's so many lessons to learn. There's so many emotions. There's so many moving parts in a transition. It's not easy to get it right, but if we get it right, it really can be beautiful. And so that passing of the baton doesn't signal the end of one race. It's the beginning, and it's a moment that's most definitely worth celebrating. So when you feel that it's time to transition out of one thing and into something new, the cloud has moved and it's time for you to move with it, there's some prep that really should take place. And so this isn't the time for you to check out. It's not a time for you to ghost the situation or check out emotionally. It's really a time to steward your exit with as much intentionality as you steward your season of leadership or your season in this role that you're now leaving. And so I want to just highlight a couple of things. This is just real practical information. I think that as you're transitioning out, it's really important to document what matters. What systems have you built? What lessons have you learned? Some lessons you learned the hard way. Could someone else benefit from your experience instead of learning the hard way on their own? With my children, it's so funny how you can raise kids in the same household, same parents, same rules. With my boys, most of the time, they were happy to learn from my experience. So they could come to me, ask my advice, and I could say, listen, fellas, I did that. It turned out to be a disaster. Oh my goodness. I got hurt. Here's what happened. And they would back up and they would think, yeah, we don't want to go that route. Let's figure out something else. My daughter, she needs to feel it in her own skin. If it's trial and error, she wants to be her trial and error. And so sometimes it's hard for me when she was younger to watch her come to a decision because it was a little bit more of a process. And she didn't just want to trust somebody else's experience. She wanted to know what was right and wrong for her own self. And so just a different in personality. But if there are some things that you've learned the hard way in your current season, document that experience, not details, not specifics, not as a means of gossiping. Just document some systems that you've built, some lessons that you learned, some relationships that are key to the health of your organization or your ministry. Just take some time to gather some wisdom. You're not gathering tasks because you don't want to control the next leader. That's not what this is about. This is about giving the next leader a launching pad, the tools that they need to push forward and continue to excel. And so you've brought your organization to this place. The next leader needs to know a little bit about how you got there. He needs to know a little bit about what's going on right now so he can launch off into something new. It doesn't mean that this next leader has to do it exactly how you did it, but this information is going to be helpful to them as they continue to build. Make time, make space to hear from God. Ask the Lord to help you release control. That's important. So when Michael and I, because you've been listening, Michael and I have resigned our church. We're no longer the pastors of the church that we still attend. We still call it our church, not because it's ours in the way we're pastors. It's ours in the way we're members. We love that community. So we love this church, but we're hands off. We really have released control of the church, and we're excited about the next pastor. We're excited to support him, and we're excited to be under his leadership in this next season. And so it can be hard, but I want to encourage you to make space for God's voice and make space to release control and really pray for the leader that's coming next, whether or not you know who they are. Nothing is a surprise to the Lord. So the Lord knows who this next leader is. Pray for that person. Pray for their success, because you're also praying for for your organization and the success of your organization. And then also, I would encourage you to begin this shift emotionally early in the process. And so I've had months to get used to my new season. Get used to releasing the previous season. So sometimes the hardest part isn't these practical measures like writing out systems and building tasks and communicating the history, communicating some practical things that the next leader is going to need. Sometimes that's just kind of the business, but there is an emotional release here that can be more difficult. So if you're mature, you would recognize that this isn't yours. You were stewarding it for a time, and now the Lord is asking you to release this so you can steward something new. And so this organization, this church, this ministry, fill in the blank, whatever this is that you're handing off, can be handed off in health and ready for whoever is next to take it to the next level. We do know people who, once they left their business, once they left their church, once they left their organization, that organization died. This should not happen. That's not a compliment to me if something that I built dies once I'm gone. The compliment to me is that God is able to continue it because it was never mine in the first place. And so if you could recognize that, it may make the emotional release a little bit easier. Another thing that's helpful in a transition to you and to the person that you're passing off to, because today we're talking about passing the baton. If you know who that next leader is, you ought to celebrate them. You ought to be a champion for them. And you really need to remember, I think that an important thing in being able to be a cheerleader and being able to be a champion is that there does not have to be a comparison. A lot of times we don't know how to turn the page. A lot of times we don't know how to make the next thing good without making the previous thing bad. Why are you leaving? It must have been bad. No, the reason that you're leaving is possibly in a healthy transition, in our best situation. The reason you're leaving is that God has called you to something else. And so can we celebrate what was and also celebrate what is to come? Yes, the answer is yes, you can. You can. So if you know who that next leader is, my advice, celebrate them publicly, cheer them on loudly, make it clear that you believe in them. we're going to get into this next week with my special guest on the podcast next week, but we have had the opportunity to meet the new pastors of the church that Michael and I resigned. And let me tell you, we are crazy in love. Oh my goodness. The moment that the pastor's wife and I had a phone call, we made an appointment for a call. And I said, hey, let me know when you get to a place that we could switch to FaceTime so we could see each other. And I'm telling you, the moment that her face popped up on the screen, I'll ask her this sometime if it was the same for her. That moment was, did we just become best friends? I love her. I love her husband. What's forward for our church, what's next for our church is just such amazing, anointed, God inspired, God ordained things are ahead. It's going to be a great, great season. Now, having said that, this doesn't mean that anything that happened in the past was bad. So God did not bring my time at this church to an end because I wasn't doing well. He didn't bring my husband's time at this church to an end because he wasn't doing well. He brought it to an end because Michael and I took this church, this organization, to where God wanted it to be at this moment. And so we ran our part of the race well. And now it's time for us to pass this baton on, because we've brought our church to this place. And now it's time to hand it off so someone else can bring it to this place. So anyway, so my advice to you, if you're in a transition and you have the honor, you have the blessing, you have the joy of passing on this baton literally to a person that you know, celebrate that person. If you don't know the next leader, just celebrate in advance, pray for them, champion them. And if you have an opportunity to just be a champion, to be a cheerleader, recognize that it's not a comparison. So what happened before was good. What's going to happen next is going to be amazing. No one will be more thrilled than I am if they come in and blow this thing up. No one will be more thrilled than my husband if the new leaders come in and the church continues in health and just grows like crazy and God does a new thing. Isaiah 43:19, I've said it to you several times. I've seen it on Facebook several times this week. It's just been my verse for this season. Isaiah 43:19 says, behold, the Lord says to Jeremiah, behold, I am doing a new thing. Even now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? We want to know it. We want to be involved in what the Lord is doing. And so he did a great thing up until now. And now it's time for Michael and I to move on to what's next for us, and then allow space and allow grace and allow celebration for what's the new thing that God is doing to be ushered in a celebration and great success. And so, another thing in saying that this is not a comparison. This is not a comparison. Even if the new leader does things differently than you did, this is not a threat. All this means is that God brings different people into different seasons on purpose. I think that the reason Michael resigned the church is because it was time for something new to happen for this church. They are primed. They're prepared for something new. And so why aren't we celebrating that as well as the leaders who are on their way out? We are celebrating that. And so as you're transitioning out, what does your role become? Do you still have a role in that previous season? If nothing else, your new role is to just be the voice that says, keep running, keep succeeding, do all that's in your heart, because the Lord is with you. I've handed you the baton. I've released that. I'm not going to take it back. I'm going to celebrate what God is doing in you in this new season, and I'm rooting for you. That's what you ought to be saying to the new leader. It's not a comparison. It's not a threat. Change is hard, but change is good. And in a situation where the Lord has ordained both the exit of one leader and the entry of another leader, this is a great day. This is a great day. It means that one person has done their job, and now it's time for the next person to come in and do theirs. God is doing a new thing. Shall you not know it? Another thing I'd want to talk about, just in a practical way, is offering support to the new leadership without hovering. There's a grace in being available, but not being intrusive. And so if someone asks you for your wisdom, if someone asks you for your insight, my advice would be that you could be present, but don't be possessive. Be available, don't be intrusive. And so if you're asked for your wisdom, offer it humbly, offer it in all humility, but don't stand in the background waiting to see if they take your advice, waiting to see if they accept your wisdom in the way you meant it. No, I'm hands off. I've released that control. And so we're not trying to continue leading through a middleman. We want to be present, but not possessive. We want to be available, but not intrusive. And so, you've got to give space to the new leader to adapt, to grow, even to fail. And let's be honest, leader, as you are transitioning out of the season that you were stewarding for such a long time, did you have failures in there? The answer is yes. I had failures in these past 17 years. Sure. This is part of life. Were mistakes made? Yes, this is part of life. And sometimes, like my daughter, needing to feel it inside herself, sometimes that's how you grow. So just allow the new leader space for them to grow, succeed, make mistakes, adapt, change, do things differently, and follow the Lord without the pressure of me constantly looking over their shoulder. That's not necessary. So it's something for you to think about as you're transitioning. And in this transition, talking specifically about you passing the baton, truly pass it. And so finally, just a few final thoughts. As you pass the baton, I just want you to remember this is not an ending. It's a beginning for you as well. You are not being set aside. You are being set apart and sent to a new season. You may be stepping into a new ministry. You may be stepping into a new business. You may be entering a season of rest. There's space for that. God ordains Sabbath. This may be a season of Sabbath as you're stepping away from one thing, and maybe you're ready to immediately step into the new, or maybe you're ready to have a little time of rest there before the Lord puts you into something new. Maybe you're not moving to a similar situation. When we came to the church that we just resigned, we resigned a church in a different state. We moved here and continued pastoring a new church. So we moved into a similar role, not a similar situation, but we were pastoring in one place. Now we're pastoring in the new place. Now we're moving on to something entirely different, something that neither of us have ever done, my husband and I. So that's exciting. I want you to remember, leader, as you're passing on the baton, you are not losing your calling. You're just changing assignments. You're walking into the new. And as you step forward, you can carry the joy of seeing what you've built in that previous season, and also allow that to become joy for watching it continue without you. This is a great day. If you built something that can outlast you, that means you're creating legacy. And that is a gift. So find joy in that as you pass the baton on. So I just want to encourage you a little bit. If you're in a season of transition, you're getting ready to pass the baton, I want you to take a deep breath. You don't have to cling tightly. If you cling tightly and not allow the next runner to take that baton in the relay race, you're losing time, you're losing seconds, you're losing opportunities on both ends. Don't try to control the outcome. Trust the Lord with all of that. And remember that in the kingdom of God, nothing is ever wasted. The baton in your hand was never about you running. It was about the whole team finishing well. So pass it on with grace, pass on the baton with prayer, and pass it on with the confidence that the same God that was leading you is the same God that's leading that new position in your previous role. He was faithful to you. God was faithful to you, and he's going to be faithful to the next leader as well. And then just let excitement build for the organization, the church, the ministry that you're leaving, as well as excitement building for the new thing that God is calling you to. And in the stands of a relay race, there's always fans, there's always people cheering the runners on. So I just want to encourage you that I'm cheering you on. If you're a leader in transition, getting ready to pass that baton, it is a beautiful, beautiful blessing. It's such a great gift. And seeing this transition happen well is not something that everybody gets to see. We don't always get to see a healthy transition. So if you have that opportunity, pray to the Lord, ask Him to help you transition well. So until next time, thank you for joining me on the Connect podcast. Please join me next week. I have a special guest you're not going to want to miss. I'm so excited about her. So anyway, join me next Thursday at 10 on the Connect podcast, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.